Welcome to our latest episode of Fitness Insights, where we dive deep into the mechanics of muscle building and recovery. Today we're joined by Thomas, a fitness enthusiast and a teacher at Geneva Academy who brings a wealth of knowledge about the power of weightlifting. Thomas will unravel the science behind how lifting heavy can dramatically enhance your muscle and recovery and overall conditioning. Whether you're a gym rookie or a seasoned lifter, this episode promises to bump up your fitness IQ and maybe even your workout routine. Join us as we lift the veil on effective muscle building, discuss the importance of balancing exertion with recovery, and share personal insights that could transform your approach to fitness. Stay tuned and get ready to empower your body and mind with every lift. Hi Thomas, welcome to the show. Before we go any further, could you please tell us a little about yourself?
Hey, how's it going? So my voice is a little bit scratchy. I had some emolente recently. It gave me a little bit of a sore throat. So I am now an instructor at Geneva Academy. However, with regards to the exercise topic, now I am able to break things down, but there will be, I'm not replacing someone who has a physical fitness degree or some sort of nutrition degree or a very robust background in this topic. However,
you have a biology degree.
Yes, I do. And this is a very, a topic I had a lot of personal passion for. And I met with many guys who were physical fitness majors and who do, and it is their profession now to help people do things such as bodybuild and other types of physical sports. And so because of this, I know that I can give details and explanations that will more or less be concise explanations of what you would get from some of these experts. But exactly. I just simply need to say that just because there are people who can go more in depth and maybe have a little bit fresher knowledge as opposed to some of the my own personal experiments. But yeah, so that's my background. I do have a degree in biology. I graduated from Rutgers University, in 2019. And since then, and while even before then, I embarked on various exercise and dietary journeys, and each of them yielded very interesting success. Sometimes I exercise to gain weight, and I've weighed as much as 200 and
Exactly. You were going to the gym in the United States. Have you tried it yet here in Ecuador?
Yes. Of course. Anytime I go to,
or in Latin America in general.
So I don't exercise with the frequency of accomplishing a very large exercise goal, but I do exercise with the intention of trying to see if I really like this gym. Would I want to stay here? Do I feel like I can accomplish my goals for any experiments and goals? Because I'm always setting like small experiments and goals in this area of my life. And the facilities are pretty good. There's people here who know what they're doing and that are in really good shape as well. And so, yes, I've been visiting the gyms and continuing my journey here as well.
Okay, can you explain the idea behind how weightlifting enhances muscle recovery? We were talking about that in the morning, and I really like the idea of that. So can you just explain it to the audience?
So this is a super interesting topic because it's not understood as much as people. It's not understood as well as it should be by normal people. Therapists understand it, but they rarely share the full depth and details of it. In a nutshell, we all have a specific recovery time for any type of injury or for any type of muscle soreness. We have a recovery time. When we are lifting and exercising regularly, this recovery time is shown to decrease. And particularly when you are lifting and exercising in order to create a more anabolic state. In other words, you're lifting in order to gain weight. Your recovery time is more or less reduced as much as it possibly can be from that particular activity.
Oh,
There's a few perks to this that are unexpected as well. So there's a few unforeseen perks when you're doing this. So not only does it significantly reduce your recovery time, which I can give personal examples of, an anecdotal example, but it will align with any research that if you look up the research. But not only does it reduce the recovery time, but it will do certain things, such as it will reduce pain that you will have in certain parts of your bodies. It will help with mobility as well. So sometimes people will suffer from chronic pain. It can be in their lower backs, in their knees, in their legs. Maybe they had an injury in their shoulder, inside of one of their shoulder socket, or in the muscle in the joint. If they are lifting to put themselves into this type of anabolic state, what they will see is that the pain in these areas will seem to kind of be reduced significantly, and then it will more
decrease
or less
gradually.
Yeah, it will fade gradually but surely. And the best way to explain this is a saying. This saying is slow is steady, and steady is fast. And so more or less, the places where you have pain will go away quickly. With regard to this saying, it will be swift. So what could have taken a few months can be reduced to between 2 weeks and 3 months, to give you a solid example. And we can go into specifics as well.
Yeah, what are the benefits of incorporating heavy lifting into a regular fitness regimen?
Okay, so heavy lifting is extremely pinpoint. So let's say anytime somebody's exercising, let's say they do a sport, any type of sport. For instance, I like to do jujitsu. So
Yeah.
there is an ideal condition for that sport, an ideal type of body type and condition that you would have particularly, and for an athlete in general. This ideal body type isn't necessarily the same body type that you're working for if you're lifting heavy. When you're lifting heavy or for size, and for growth, if you weren't playing another sport, it would transform you and shape you differently. So it's important to understand that these two exercise processes are both giving you something, but it's not conditioning you in the same way. So why even do the lifting in the first place, right? The lifting comes in because athletes hurt themselves. They always stress the muscles to the point where there are injuries. And depending on the sport that you're partaking in or how you train, these things can happen faster or slower. It just all depends on what's happening. The ideal recovery is weightlifting, for an anabolic state, to increase your anabolic state. And so rarely do people incorporate this element into their exercise regime, because maybe they're afraid that if they have an injury and then they go and they're trying to create an anabolic state, which requires heavy lifting, they will stress their injury out more and make it worse. So why do that? Why hurt yourself more? It's tricky. So, here's the trick. The trick is you don't want any pain. So you work around the injury. You don't work through it. You work around it.
Around it.
So, for instance, a person can have a knee injury, right? If this person, let's say, was a soccer player and they had a knee injury, let's say if they simply incorporated, let's say, a bench press or a shoulder lift day into their weightlifting regime, this would actually create just a little bit more growth hormone. Let's say when they're doing this, they're lifting, specifically, they're lifting, maybe they're trying to go somewhere near as heavy as they can lift. They're trying to lift maybe, they're going for what we call heavy volume. So they're either lifting something that they can lift only 10 or 8 times, or even less than that. They're challenging themselves, taking a nice maybe 2-3 minute break and challenging themselves to lift a weight that they can only lift maybe 3 or 4 times, with help around, of course. And this will train the brain and body differently. And so because of this, if they do this and they're taking a good break and they have a proper pre-workout type of meal and post-workout meal as well, and all these little elements all lined up, they will kind of trick their body to be in a more anabolic state, which will actually help with a part that they might not have even exercised, such as the knee. And so then if they're working out and they're doing this to their legs, then they're also bringing these benefits to their legs. And so the idea here is that it's something that they might not have did at all. You don't see a lot of clips of soccer players saying, "Hey, I'm going to go and I'm going to do some squats, or some heavy squats or some heavy lunges." And so, for instance, you're an athlete, right?
Yeah, exactly.
How often would you say you've challenged yourself to just go in and try some squats, some heavy squats in the gym?
Like very rare, It's like once a week.
And so, what about bench press? How do you normally do bench press when you do it, or do you not do it?
Yeah, I play table tennis, so it's necessary to work on the upper part. So yeah,
but like, it would actually hurt your performance if you were, let's say, saying, "Hey, I want to have the same type of, if I want to work out bench press and I want to have the same type of chest as like Arnold Schwarzenegger, or I want to have this," it would just hurt you.
Exactly.
Yeah, it could mess your power up.
Because your body is not ready for that.
Yeah, and that type of conditioning would also, for instance, it could deviate you from the type of precision that you need and endurance that you need, because your limbs would weigh more, so it takes a little bit more work to move them around, and the ability of these limbs to maintain the tension can be diminished.
Exactly.
So and that's because they'll be conditioned more for explosiveness, but not as much for the maintained tension. And these are different types of conditionings. And so
you can go beyond your limits, but not too much, because sometimes your body is not ready to do that.
And so the concept here is it works against you. So when you bring this in, here's why it's useful. Now, it's useful when you bring it in because if you already exercise, that is your main conditioning source. That will be what truly guides and directs your overall growth, appearance, and performance. And so then, because of that, if you bring in, let's say, a program that people refer to as like, oh, I'm trying to do a like a heavy volume. I'm trying to bulk. This is a part of a bulk program, right? This more or less can simply help the recovery time for your main conditioning, because that same weight you would have gained is simply translated into recovery. And then when you do gain it, you can quickly burn it as you are doing your other exercises and your conditioning. Um, and so the idea here is that you are still training in your sport and in your domain. You know, if you, let's say, are doing other types of sports, such as cycling, there are guys that do the cycling. There are runners, guys who do the marathon runners, right? This same process would help any one of these guys if they are having some sort of injury that is really causing them problems while they are doing these sports. Um, so we have to go into the type of weightlifting program. So we have to talk about those particular details in order to create these states where your body is now producing more growth hormone that will help the recovery, and that will also, and this is through a whole cascade of hormones that I simply can't go into depth to at this moment, but it will also magically reduce pain and other things that you wouldn't necessarily expect to come with just the recovery process. So it's like little details that need to fix themselves will also fix themselves along the way if you incorporate this. But yeah.
How does lifting heavy weights impact muscle growth compared to other forms of exercise like cardio, for example?
So when you do cardio, you are stimulating more slow twitch muscle fibers.
Yeah.
Right? And so when you lift weights, especially if you lift heavy weights, you're stimulating fast twitch muscle fibers. So the fast twitch ones are associated with larger, more explosive muscle fibers, where the slow twitch are associated more with the muscles that can keep going and going and going and going, that have more endurance. And so this is when you're trained. This is important because when you are training in the heavyweight lifting, you are telling your muscles. Let's say you are lifting bench press, and I say, all right, this is what we're going to do. You're going to lift this weight 2 or 3 times, and then set it down for 20 seconds, and then lift it 2 or 3 times, and then set it down, and then 2 or 3 times.
Like sets.
It's like, this is just a special little fun workout that allows you to try and lift some really, really heavy weight just a few times before you take like a 20-second break before you take a longer break. That's more like, 3 to 5 minute break. So you just do this only like 3 times, and then you take a long 3 to 5 minute break. So there's all sorts of little games like this that you can play to help trick the muscles. This is just for muscle memory in order to add the variation, because this helps to create the growth, the variation. So let's say you're doing this, or you're just going and you're doing a drop set. You go and you lift maybe 10 or 8 times, and then as soon as you reach that 10 and you can't do anymore, you have some help, or yourself, you take off a plate from each side, and then you lift a little bit more, and then you keep doing that. This is variation. But the idea is that you actually did the initial lift of the heavy weight. In all of these cases, that's the first idea. So just when you lift heavy by itself, you get a different feeling. The feeling that you get is what we call a pump.
Yeah.
And you can get the same way guys get the runner high, you can get a pump high where it's like you pump the weight really hard and the blood and circulation in your body rushes to your head and it gives you like a pump high, just due to the fact that you have turned your body into like a hydraulic press for just a little bit, challenging that weight. But also the feeling you feel in that muscle group is different. You have a different feeling in the muscle group and a different feeling in your mind. And it actually feels kind of good. It has like a bit of a soothing feeling. So as you lift this weight, the blood has to rush to this body part. So the body part begins to swell and the muscles swell with blood and nutrients. And your body upregulates a lot of everything the muscle needs to recover and repair, but also to combat the sense of soreness because your body anticipates that you're going to work. So the pain that you feel is reduced in this body part because when you lift, you get sore.
Yeah, especially for the first times or when you change weights.
Absolutely. And so because your body is managing that, it upregulates hormones that are more or less painkillers. So you will be producing natural painkillers. When your body pumps these natural painkillers into an injured part of your body, now you have to be crafty to do this because when you're working out a part of your body that's injured, and you have to figure out how to work it out and how to initiate a heavy lift for the heavy volume without stressing the injury. So this is real tricky. For instance, I've had knee injuries and I want to expedite my recovery. And I'm like, oh, my knee is injured. And when I squat, I feel it in my knee. I can't do squats. And that's like my number one go-to to create this pump sensation that I'm talking about. Okay, how do I work around it? What I'll do is I'll go over to the squat machine that is connected to those metal bars. So I'll look for like the Smith machine. I think it's called the Smith machine. It's like the squat machine, but you see the women use it a lot, but everyone uses it. And it has the little bars connected to it. So when you go down, it's kind of guided down.
Yeah.
I'll go and I'll find this machine and I'll try to do some squats on that from different angles. I'll lean back and try it. I will lean forward and try it. I'll put the bar.
You'll change your position.
I'll change my position a few times to see if I'm able to perform the movement without that injured part being specifically stressed, like I'm pushing down and I'm actually stressing. I don't want to feel any sharp pain at all. So I want to get it to the point where I'm doing the motion and there's no sharp pain, especially the very first times that I'm working this body part out to create recovery. So I do the same thing for shoulders and any other part of my body when I have a muscle tear or an injury. So I'm exercising this body part, and once I find whatever exercise I can do, let's say this machine works or it doesn't work. Like, oh wow, I can't do anything on that machine. I'll go and I'll say, all right, what about the leg press? I'll check out the leg press. Is there a position that I can take on the leg press when I'm lying down? Because you can put a lot of weight on the leg press where I can hit it and I don't feel it in my knee. And I'll try it on the leg press in a few different positions. Maybe I'll find it. If I don't, I'll try an assisted leg press. So I'll get on the leg press and I will put my hands on my knees. So this allows me to cheat and use my hands a little bit, but also sometimes
support a little bit with your hands.
Yeah, so it allows my arms to help my legs cheat. But also what this tends to do is it tends to change a little bit the center of gravity or the part, kind of just like the function of the lift and where the pressure is focused. So by doing that, now my hands are on my knees. It takes a little bit of the work specifically away from the knees and only the knees. But every other part of my body that's doing work isn't being assisted a lot. So now my hamstrings still are working really hard and they have to have explosive force. And the rest of my thigh and leg that's working is still working. And now the part that was hurting is no longer hurting. So I might get that on the leg press doing something like this. If not, then I will move over to the actual machines where I can lay down and put my legs. So I'll do the leg curls, see if I can do leg curls. Usually that's pretty safe. I'll try each of these. And once I find the ones that I can do, I will do only those. So I won't say, oh man, I'm just going to tough it out and do the squats. I won't do that. I never do that. When you do that, you can recover, but you risk a whole lot. And it's not, listen to your body, listen to the body closely, use it as a roadmap. And so, then what I will do is I will do almost as much weight as possible when I do these exercises. So I'll do these exercises, I'll load the weight up, and I'll make sure that I can lift it at least maybe 6 times, right? Maybe 10 to 6 times. And I'll do at least 3 sets with like 3 to 5 minute breaks, 2-minute breaks if I feel like having a more short break. And this is a very cushioned break. It allows my muscles to fully breathe between the workouts. And the point of the workout is for the muscles to try and expand, just to challenge themselves to lift the weight. And so this is what I will do. And just from doing this, even during the workout, I will see a great deal of pain diminish from what I have, like even during the workout. But if you keep your ratios right, which I will go into, then you will see that your recovery overall will be increased overall. So that's a good way to think of how to lift heavy, even though you exercise in other areas, but lifting it to help with recovery.
That's a good point, though. What are some common misconceptions about lifting heavy weights, especially regarding injury and recovery?
Well, that it can injure you further, and it can.
If you use it,
if you stress that body part, if your form is bad, and if you also are doing more risky exercises with your form being bad and also with a potential injury. So there are some exercises that are much more risky than others. For instance, let's say an overhead press. All risks of dropping it alone out of the way, the actual motion is one that kind of doesn't feel very comfortable for your muscles, and the probability of you having small muscle tears in your shoulders, your pectorals, and as well as in your back muscles. I think I want to say upper lats, but no, it's like your shoulder muscles and other muscles and stuff. The probability is quite high, and so there are some exercises that just do that. When you're doing them, you're tearing yourself up a lot doing that motion. It's not such a smooth, cohesive motion as other exercises. And so this is, because people have had issues in these areas, it creates misconceptions, because now they'll shy away from what is the best way for them to recover and to initiate the therapy. So you have to still understand that you need to still be cautious. Another misconception is, I think people will, that's the main one, honestly. Sometimes people think they'll get more results than they should get, but like, oh, maybe lifting heavy will get me really big or something like that. So they don't do it. And then other times they think, oh, I won't get any results, so they don't do it. Just do it, regardless of what, do it, and you won't regret doing it. You'll always get good results.
Yeah, without high expectations or...
Yeah, well, if you can, give yourself the placebo effect as much as possible. Give yourself as much motivation as much as possible.
Yeah.
Don't appease any negative mindset. Give yourself as much excitement and enthusiasm as much as possible. Convince yourself that you will recover, Indulge that mindset, and also indulge the idea that you will be even more interesting or better, or because every time you go through a recovery or injury in a recovery, the route that you have to take is going to be different because you are exercising the muscles differently because you had to search to find out what you could do. And when you do this, what this will do is this will give you a slightly different conditioning. So by the time you are recovered, your muscles, because you had to do something, you had to improvise exercises, you'll be better at those exercises. Yeah. So your foundation will be a little bit different now. And so you get to look forward to that. You get to look forward to having a slightly different foundation than what you would have ever expected now. And this alternative foundation can be really good. It can give you a more interesting appearance with how your body looks and how your muscles look. It can also give you an edge and give you insight that other athletes may not have had because they did not specifically take that route and do those specific exercises. And so you will find out what that route has to offer, and you'll take that with you as one of your own personal secrets. So there's always something to be really enthusiastic when you are going through the recovery process and you're lifting heavy, or just lifting heavy in general, because it's a journey. It's your own journey.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Can you talk about the role of nutrition in muscle recovery when engaging in heavy lifting sessions?
So nutrition is everything. So there's two things that you have to couple. It's the frequency that you are lifting heavy. You have to make sure you reach a certain frequency, and that frequency is, in fact, 3 times a week, right?
Is that a minimum?
Minimum.
Wow.
So minimum, you have to go in and you have to lift heavy 3 times a week. And it doesn't have to be the same body part, but you do want to target the body part that you need to recover at least once or twice a week. And then work out other body parts with the heavy lifting. And so this is why the go-to is usually the big 3: bench press, squats, deadlifts, right? And you can improvise for lunges and other things, shoulder press, and other types of, heavy rows. There's all sorts of variations. But the idea is you're able to lift a lot of weight with those exercises. Nutrition is extremely important now because you need to eat. So there is the concept of all of these supplements and other things that you can take. And if you ever meet someone who has taken all of it and done it all, they will always give you the bottom line, which is you need to eat. That is the number one thing that you can do for yourself.
To build muscle.
Yes, the number one thing at the top of the list. Got it. You have to eat. Everything else can help with your motivation, and it will also have good effects. But that's the really big thing it offers, the placebo effect. Eating does not offer the placebo effect as much because guess what? It's giving you the reality that you will grow and you will recover. And so I recommend minimum, if you're trying to recover and grow, you should be eating a minimum of 5 meals. And I've
heard that before. Yeah, 5,
that's a minimum. So if you really want to really reap the benefits, you should be trying to touch 7 meals, if you want me to be honest. So I did this for up to a year before.
Including protein.
So the protein is, and that's perfect that you asked that, the protein is considered a meal. So when you take the protein, it's actually considered one of the meals.
One of the meals.
So you can take the protein twice a day. That's 2 meals.
And then 5 more or 4 more.
5 or 4 or however many. But you want to, you want to keep these numbers in your head. You want to count these meals. You want to get up and just go straight to a meal because it serves a purpose for priming your body for the heavy lift that you do. And you really want to make sure you are carb loading and getting, which is a separate topic, but let's get into it for a second. So one of the really big takeaways that I got from that gave me some really good results in this topic, and I'm not sure how comprehensive I'm supposed to be getting in just this discussion that we're having, but I've already said things that are extremely pertinent. So take the time to understand that some of these details are things that other people would talk a whole lot about, and they would only touch one of these details. So you would only cherry pick one. I've already left a few. So let me try and really point out when I leave a strong detail. A very strong detail is how you carb load and how you carb cycle. So so some guys, what they like to do is they like to cycle their carbs. And this means that they're shifting from their main carbohydrate source. So they might have 3 carbohydrate sources. It can be rice, it can be oatmeal. Right. Yes, rice, obviously it's super easy, cheap, and you can anytime load up on it. Not super ideal for some, depends. Oatmeal, same thing. And then it could be like potatoes, sweet potatoes. And so I knew guys who were doing these carb cycles with these. And so I spec'd into it, looked into it, and began my own variations of it, including I would have my protein, which we already have decided we already established that this is a meal. So now that you know it's a meal, when you are taking your protein, go a step further. So they're saying, oh, when you take the protein, you can just add more and more and more, and this will benefit you more and more and more. Instead of just adding more protein, you want to minimum get maybe 20 grams of protein, but you can always kick it up and do 40. Some guys even go beyond that, right? So let's say you just are going for the 20. One thing that you can do that's really productive is you can have a small bowl, like a little cup or bowl of carbs to go with it. And this can be, a lot of guys go for like oatmeal with some honey. For me, I would go for sweet potatoes with some honey and a little bit of cinnamon in it. And I'll have that with my protein. Because the protein is going to do its job. It's still going to absorb quickly and at the speed that you need it to. But the point is you are having a meal, and your body is going to use a lot of that for that quick muscle quench and the recovery process that you want to take advantage of post-workout. You really want to take advantage of that. And so this is something that I would do. And so for me, I took this carb cycling and I just transformed it into just sweet potato cycling, because I eventually found that I didn't really like some of the psychological and energy effects that I was getting from the oatmeal or the rice. And I just found that I can have different variations of the sweet potatoes. Sometimes I have it with sugar. Sometimes I have it with honey. Sometimes I have it as sweet potato fries. Sometimes I have it mashed. And sometimes almost, I have it with cinnamon, which is really good to have it with post-workout. So let's segue into a different, fact real quick. So after an exercise, especially when you lift heavy, you create a window. When you lift heavy, your body now understands that it needs to pump a vast amount of nutrients to those muscles.
Yeah.
It's opening up the channels. Cells. Yes, the cells are trying to get bigger. They're opening up their channels to take in more. And so after your workout, this is for all workouts, but especially this type, you have a lot of hormones that help to transport these nutrients. They're called usually transport elements. So in your blood, you have transport elements. People who have, let's say, issues with transport elements have what's it called when they have the blood sugar problems? Diabetes. That's because the glucose transport elements are not functioning properly for either putting the sugar into the flesh, the muscle in the flesh, or transporting it to other portions. When you are done working out, your body exponentially, not one time, two times. It exponentially increases the transport elements in your blood that's transporting glucose, sodium, and a bunch of other nutrients and pain relievers and all sorts of things into your muscles. And this lasts for up to 30 minutes. Now, that's the significant threshold that people are taught. Obviously, there's a different specific time limit and whatnot, but that's a good time for you to have in your head when you're training. So once you're done with your workout, it behooves you to have your meal ready right there, so that as soon as you're done, maybe even have it on the floor with you. You are automatically drinking your protein shake, and your workout is over. And you're walking away from it. Bam, you're done. So you're going straight for that. And, sometimes people will even look at you and see that, oh, this person's doing this. It doesn't matter what they are thinking. This is what the best do. This is what the best of the best do. And it's a very good thing to do. You want to take advantage of that window as early as possible. So so you quickly want to have sweets. So you want to have sweets because your body handles it differently. This is why some people say, oh, that you can have a cheat meal after you work out. You can. Your body is ripping it apart.
Yeah.
And just like, it's like a bunch of starving wolves. Like, we need this right now. And it's going into your muscles and not necessarily into your fat and into your skin, all the places you don't want it to go.
But there's room now for...
Yeah, you've created a vacuum in your muscles, and your muscles are it's sucking and sucking and sucking now, and it's telling your brain and body and everything else, yo, send it over, what's going on? Mm-hmm. And brain and it's like, all right, here it comes. So you want to bam, get that shipment on there. It's like a boat that's going to have a shipment. You want that boat to be loaded up to the max when it's going out to sea. You don't want it to be like half loaded and stuff when you're getting this shipment sent. So it's like that. So for me, when I'm trying to gain weight and stuff like this, I do this perfectly every time, and I have great results when I do this. I've done this for a year straight, where I've done these programs where I lift at least 3 times a week heavy, sometimes 5 to 7 times religiously. I will do this, and I will have these meals lined up and timed perfectly for these workouts, and you will get smooth, consistent results. Even when it's slow, it will be consistent. Mm-hmm. And so, because some guys are worried about how fast it happens. Don't worry about it, man. Consistency feels the best. That's always so satisfying. And you're very proud of yourself as well. I recommend having these carbs with your protein, making these carbs sweet and delicious. Treat yourself, a little bit of salt, and then some sugar, some honey. Organic if it's organic, it's even better. And have a piece of fruit. If you can, have some fruit after you work out. Now you're getting natural sugars. It's juicy, so you're hydrating yourself, and then you're having it with your protein shake as well. Have all of these things together. And this is your post-workout meal. This is a meal. And just as important, or not just as important, but important. I wouldn't say it's just as important, but it's important, because your performance and what you can do and avoiding new injuries is based off of this. So in order to prevent injuries before you go into the gym, you can help reduce this by how you eat before you go in. So before you go in, especially if you're going to lift heavy, because when you lift heavy, that increases the risk for injury. The same way of if you are doing intense cardio and you are deep into that cardio. If you're doing a 10-mile run, when you are 8 miles in, if you do weird exertions, because your muscles are depleted, you can rip your muscles up more, Okay. So when you are going in to do heavy lifting, the more your muscles are cushiony and have lots of nutrients, the less injuries you will have. So if before you go in, you want to carb load. So you want to load up on carbs. You do this by roughly, if you want to time it, you can get it about 2 hours to about before your workout, about 2 hours before your workout to about 1 hour and 45 minutes. You want to aim for that. It's fine if you get it a little bit further, 2 hours and 30 minutes, even 3 hours. Yeah, that's all fine. But if you want to really keep it as tight as possible, that window is good. 1 hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours. That way, it's at a good part of your digestive tract. You want to have a meal, and then a part of this meal, you want to make sure that you have that you carb load in this meal. And so for me, I would make sure that I have a good portion of sweet potatoes with this meal. This could be a cup or a cup and a half of sweet potatoes with the meal that I'm having. So whatever meal you're having, you have that with it. Other people, it can be the rice, it can be the oatmeal that they want to have with it, if they're depending on how they're cycling or doing it. But that's one of my go-tos. You could even do the 2 cups of the sweet potatoes. And then that you have a lot of carbohydrates, a lot of sugar and glucose coming from that as your body tears those carbohydrates open to take it to consume the glucose and the energy coming from that. And then there's also fibers in it and other things that are all very useful. And so when you do this before your workout, when you go into your workout, you will be able to execute more heavy volume. So you can lift the heavy weights, and then you can put up more numbers. That creates a greater maximum potential of kilojoules of energy that you've exerted in that exercise, in those sets. So you'll be able to do a bit more, and you will also have a huge reduction in the probability of injuring yourself or new injuries, and you will increase your recovery probability as well. So eating before is very important for this, and then eating after, which should be a smaller meal, because you won't be as hungry. So you should have a larger meal before, and then
normally after it won't be protein, because you need something, as you said, like natural sugar, like fruits.
As much natural sugar is better.
Digested quickly.
Yes, quickly as well. And the protein shake when you buy the protein shake, for instance, if you see on the shelf, there's different types of protein shakes. But usually it's like...
I have one here. It's one of the best. I'll show you maybe after.
And usually it's like whey isolate proteins, and then there's variations of it. I used to work at GNC selling these supplements, so I had to study them, and it was my hobby to study them as well, on top of talking to the guys who are enthusiasts and us trading information and stuff like this. So I did spend a period of my life really focused on this for at least a few years. And so one of the best times to take the protein is post-workout, after your workout. If you have plenty of it and you can take it whenever you want, then you can also take it other times of the day. But remember, you can also have food as well. So you can also get protein and carbohydrates from food, because you get that from food. Post-workout is giving your body the opportunity to take advantage of the fact that the protein is engineered to be absorbed quickly. So you can take the fact that it's absorbed quickly and you can put it into that window, the 30-minute window for your post-workout. And then on top of that, you can also have a piece of fruit. If there's no fruit or nothing around, now is a good time for you to run to the bakeries nearby, have a pastry or something like that. This is a good time to now indulge in something like this, because you're not going to have the same effects. It's not going to give you the same drowsiness that it would normally. Your muscles are going to really feast on it quickly. So that's the idea with the nutrition in general.
Apart from the nutrition, so what are your top tips for someone starting out with weightlifting to ensure they are doing it safely and effectively?
My top tip is Well, don't be so distracted or discouraged. Don't stop because you get really sore at first. Because whenever you work out a body part that you haven't been working out, especially if you're very new, you will experience like a lot of soreness.
Exactly. All your body.
Yeah, you will be very, very sore. And so I think when this happens, enjoy it. Enjoy it because it's actually really nice to get that sore, to get very sore.
And as long as you work out after that more, like the pain will disappear gradually.
Well,
like
yeah. So what will happen is you'll get very sore, and then you recover. And then when you work out again, so even though you get very sore, you should be working out other body parts. So just because one body part is sore does not mean that you should not be working out the other body parts. So that's really
But
important.
normally, when you start, the trainer that tells you to work out all your muscles at the beginning, like the first week or the first 3, 4 sessions, you need to just work out all your muscles, like everything. So this is like the worst part. Like it's
So some guys do this. There are different trainers, and trainers have different philosophies. My philosophy is very quickly. It's important to learn how to work out individual body parts and segments of your body, upper body, lower body. It's important to not neglect either, and then to learn how to work out these muscle groups because focusing on muscle groups and having consistency with everything else that I've said is how you really see concrete results. Like it's how you put yourself on the smooth fast track to the type of performance or appearance that you're looking for, and on top of recovery. And so working out the entire body is very useful for what you just said, but you're going to experience that regardless. And so the idea is you should be expecting to work out each muscle group, and you should be excited about it and be looking forward to putting together your own little plan for these muscle groups, because there's tons of resources online. And then, or you go into the gym and you improvise in the gym. My advice: when you go into the gym, don't be shy of the gym. When you go in there, get over the shyness and walk around the gym and look at each machine and start coming up within your head what you're going to do during that exercise session. Don't worry about what other people think. Don't be preoccupied with them. Ignore them, and instead look at them for inspiration. If they're doing a workout that will benefit what you are doing that day, take note of it. Like, okay, I can incorporate this, and then organize it in your head. Should I start with this or should I push this a little bit back? So you look for people for inspiration and productivity. And you don't let them hold you back while you're planning and putting things together. You don't have to. If you go into the gym, you can take a moment to ponder what you're doing if you already don't have it all set up. And that's totally fine. And so, yeah, that's.
And how do you balance your workout routine to include both heavy lifting and necessary recovery time?
What I like to do is if sometimes I just go for the heavy lifting because that's what I'm focused on. Other times I'm not focused on that at all, but I want to make sure that I don't lose too much weight when I do my other sports. Or maybe I want to gain a little bit of weight. So what I like to do is I keep this number in my head, the 3 minimum, and I will fluctuate my ratio of exercising based off of what my goal is. If I'm saying, I want to gain a little bit of weight, I meet that minimum. So I will lift 3 times. If I say I don't care about that, or even I'm okay with losing weight, then I will do it less than 3. I will lift heavy only once or twice. And that's very clear to me. I'm very clear about this intention and the frequency with relation to my own goals. If my goals are very robust in the other exercise areas, then I will still do those. So I could, let's say, for instance, I could say I want to exercise, I want to meet up and train in jujitsu / MMA. I want to do this 5 times a week because I'm really serious right now, or I can do it maybe 2 or 3 times a week, right? I will do on top of this. Even if I choose to do this 5 times a week, I will lift heavy on top of that. So if I choose to do that 5 times a week, and I have also chosen, I know I want to lift heavy and gain just a bit of weight, I will lift heavy 3 times a week on top of that. And I would devote for each heavy lifting session an hour. Now, I might take away from my other session because sometimes I like to train in the other sports for 2 hours. That's an ideal session for me for training in MMA, is actually 2 hours. If I'm lifting heavy, then I will say, well, I might today go for only an hour of this, and then an hour of the lifting, which is really good, excellent work. And it doesn't really take away from
2 hours. Normally here it's like 45 minutes or 1 hour maximum
for a lifting session.
Yeah,
45 minutes is I would say that's a good lifting session. That's like, you want to go 45 minutes to an hour and 30 minutes. Once you start getting up to 2 hours, I think you start going kind of past your peak, most productive times physically and mentally. And so maximum, guys are usually only in there up to 2 hours tops. So 45 minutes is fine. Less than 45 minutes starts to become a little bit sketchy as well. So these are good, these are good thresholds.
Well, thank you, Thomas, for sharing your expertise and insights with us today. Your knowledge on weightlifting and muscle recovery is incredibly valuable, and I'm sure our listeners are walking away with great tips to enhance their own fitness journeys. Remember, everyone, strength isn't just built in the gym. It's built through knowledge and understanding your body. Join us next time for more enlightening discussions. Until then, keep lifting, keep learning, and keep pushing your limits. Goodbye for now.